You wouldn't last 24 hours as a Viking, not because of battles, but because every hour was a test of pain, of grit, of how much your body could take before it gave out. If you think you're tough, hold that thought. Let's see how your first hour goes. The sun hasn't even thought about rising, but you're already being kicked awake by someone's boot. This is how every Viking day begins, whether you like it or not. Your bed is a pile of straw that's been shared with goats, sheep, and probably a few rats. The smell is so bad that even the animals complain, and they sleep in their own waste. Welcome to the Longhouse, a 60-foot building where privacy doesn't exist. 20 to 40 people live together in one giant room with no walls, no separate spaces, and definitely no quiet corners. Grandparents, parents, children, and livestock all share the same roof. The goats and sheep aren't pets either. They live inside because keeping them outside means they'll freeze to death or get eaten by wolves. The air inside is thick with smoke from the fire pit that sits right in the middle of everything. There's supposed to be a hole in the roof for ventilation, but most of the smoke just hangs around like a fog that never lifts. Your eyes water constantly, and breathing feels like sucking air through a dirty sock. The Vikings called it indoor heating, but it's more like indoor choking. Temperature control is whatever the fire provides, which isn't much. Northern Scandinavian nights drop below freezing even in summer. Winter temperatures would make a modern freezer feel tropical. The fire helps if you're sitting directly next to it, but move 10 feet away and you might as well be camping outside. Getting dressed means putting on clothes that are always damp. Wool and linen absorb moisture from the air, and they never really dry out completely. The fabric is rough, scratchy, and about as comfortable as wearing a potato sack made of sandpaper. Hygiene happens with ice-cold river water if you're lucky. Most mornings you just wipe yourself down with a damp cloth and hope for the best. The Vikings were actually the cleanest people in medieval Europe, which should tell you everything about medieval Europe. Brushing your teeth involves finding a twig, chewing one end until it breaks apart, and scrubbing your teeth with the frayed bits. Breakfast is whatever didn't get eaten yesterday, reheated over the smoky fire. Leftover stew made from mystery vegetables and questionable meat is common. The Vikings invented recycling, except they applied it to food that should have been thrown away 3 days ago. Water isn't safe to drink because rivers and wells carry diseases that kill faster than Viking raids. Instead, you drink ale or mead with every meal, including breakfast. The alcohol kills bacteria, but it also means you start every day slightly drunk. Before you finished your morning ale, you're already exhausted, dirty, cold, and covered in smoke. Your clothes are damp, your teeth hurt, and you smell like a combination of wet sheep and wood smoke. But the real adventure is about to begin. Someone shouts that it's time to get the longboat ready, and your heart sinks faster than a boat with a hole in it. The 30-foot wooden vessel sitting on the beach looks impressive until you realize you'll be powering it with nothing but muscle and determination. Vikings called it advanced transportation, but it's basically a floating gym where the membership fee is paid in blisters and back pain. Each oar weighs about 18 pounds and stretches 12 feet long. Your rowing position is a squat that you'll hold for hours without relief. There are no seats, no cushions, and definitely no back support. You sit on a wooden chest or directly on the hard deck. Within minutes, your legs start cramping from the awkward position. Your hands start developing blisters within the first hour. The wooden oar handle rubs against your palms with every stroke, creating hot spots that quickly turn into painful sores. By hour 3, those blisters have burst and your hands are raw and bleeding. The oar handle sticks to your bloody palms, making every stroke agony. Weather is your biggest enemy on the open sea. North Sea storms appear without warning, turning calm water into 20-foot waves and driving rain. When bad weather hits, there's nowhere to hide. You're completely exposed to wind, rain, hail, and spray from the waves. Vikings didn't have weather apps, so their forecast was usually wrong, and the weather was usually terrible. Sleep on a longboat is practically impossible. There's not enough room for everyone to lie down, so you sleep sitting up or curled up on the hard wooden deck. The boat never stops moving, so you're constantly being jostled awake by waves or other crew members. Portaging means carrying the entire boat overland when rivers get too shallow. A longboat weighs about 3,000 pounds empty, plus whatever supplies you're carrying. 40 men can lift it, but it's backbreaking work that leaves everyone exhausted and angry. It's like moving house, except your house is a boat and you have to carry it through a forest. Equipment has to be protected from salt water, which corrodes iron faster than you'd believe. Weapons, tools, and anything metal needs regular cleaning and oiling to prevent rust. Salt spray gets into everything, creating a constant battle against corrosion. After days of this treatment, your body is broken down and your spirits are lower than the boat sits in the water. Your hands look like raw meat. Your back feels like it's held together with prayers, and you haven't had a decent meal or full night's sleep since leaving home. Now comes the dangerous part. The longboat scrapes against the beach, and suddenly everyone transforms from exhausted rowers into focused warriors. Your target is usually a monastery, small village, or isolated farm that can't put up much resistance. Vikings were smart enough to pick fights they could win, which means attacking people who spend more time praying than practicing with swords. Most raiders carry simple iron axes that work as both tools and weapons, plus wooden shields covered with leather and reinforced with iron. A basic spear costs about the same as a sheep, while a good sword costs as much as several cows. Armor is expensive enough that most Vikings can't afford it, so you wear thick leather topped with a simple iron helmet. Combat happens fast and brutal, nothing like sword fights in movies. Most battles last only minutes before one side breaks and runs. Vikings fight in formations called shield walls, where overlapping shields create a barrier while spears and axes strike from behind. Breaking formation means death, so staying together is more important than individual heroics. The noise of battle is overwhelming and terrifying. 30 men yelling war cries, weapons clanging against shields, screams of wounded fighters, and general chaos create a wall of sound that makes communication nearly impossible. Orders come through horn calls and hand signals, assuming anyone can see them through the dust and confusion. Your shield weighs about 15 pounds and measures 3 feet across. Holding it up while fighting requires tremendous strength in your arm and shoulder. After just minutes of combat, your shield arm feels like it's burning, but dropping your guard means taking an axe to the face. It's like holding a heavy tray above your head while someone hits it with a hammer, except the consequences are significantly worse than spilled drinks. Injuries happen instantly and often. A single mistake or moment of bad luck results in serious wounds. Broken bones from weapon impacts, deep cuts from axes and swords, and puncture wounds from spears are common. Blood loss becomes a major concern when battlefield medicine consists of pressing cloth against wounds and hoping for the best. Weapons need constant attention during fighting. Iron blades chip, bend, and dull quickly when hitting other weapons and shields. A damaged weapon can break at the worst moment, leaving you defenseless in the middle of combat. Vikings carry whetstones for sharpening, but battlefield repairs are temporary fixes at best. Medical knowledge consists of basic first aid and folk remedies. Serious wounds get cleaned with whatever water is available, sometimes with ale if the injury looks particularly bad. Bleeding is controlled by applying pressure and praying. Broken bones are set using available materials, often resulting in permanent disabilities. Enemy resistance varies depending on your target. Monasteries might have guards, but they're usually more interested in protecting people than treasure. Villages often have militia training where farmers grab pitchforks and fight with desperate courage. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent is a terrified villager with a farming tool who has absolutely nothing left to lose. Loot collection happens quickly, while some fighters maintain security. Silver coins, jewelry, weapons, tools, and livestock are gathered for transport. Everything gets evaluated for value versus weight, since you still have to carry it back to the boat and then row home with extra cargo. Retreat is often the most dangerous part of any raid. Loaded down with loot, tired from fighting, and possibly wounded, raiders have to make it back to their ship before reinforcements arrive. This is when most casualties occur, because the discipline of the shield wall breaks down and individual fighters become vulnerable. The entire raid might last only an hour or two, but the intensity and violence pack a lifetime of trauma into that short period. But reaching the boat is just one of the problems. The clash of weapons has ended, but now comes the backbreaking work of hauling your stolen goods back to the longboat. It's like the world's most dangerous moving day, except you're carrying someone else's stuff and they might still be chasing you. Loading the boat properly requires skill because improper weight distribution makes the vessel unstable. Heavy items like anvils go in the center, while lighter goods get packed around the edges. Livestock presents special challenges because sheep and goats don't cooperate with loading procedures and take up valuable space. The journey back tests everyone's endurance after hours of fighting. Rocky hills and muddy forests have to be crossed while your legs shake from exhaustion and your arms ache from the weight. Your body runs on pure adrenaline and whatever energy comes from dried fish and stale bread. Boat maintenance becomes urgent when you discover damage from rough landing. Sails need patching, ropes need splicing, and wounds get cleaned with seawater or ale since clean water is precious. Bandages are torn from spare clothing or cloth taken during the raid. The return voyage is harder than the outbound trip because the boat sits lower in the water from extra weight. Weather that wasn't dangerous before becomes threatening when you're overloaded, and storms that could be weathered easily might now swamp the boat. Sleep becomes impossible with the boat more crowded than before. Loot takes up space previously used for resting. Livestock adds noise and smell, and the boat becomes less comfortable than it was before, which seemed impossible until it happened. Security concerns continue as other Viking groups might attack for your loot. The overloaded boat's constant motion makes injuries worse and simple tasks nearly impossible. Every mile toward home feels like 10 miles, and every wave threatens to undo hours of progress. Even reaching home safely won't end your suffering because now you have to face the daily challenge of survival. Back on solid ground, your empty stomach reminds you that fighting and rowing burn tremendous energy. Unfortunately, Viking meals make modern military rations seem like fine dining. The primary ingredient in most dishes is whatever didn't kill anyone the last time it was served. Barley and oats form the foundation of the diet, ground into flour using stone mills that leave rock fragments mixed with the grain. This gritty flour creates bread that slowly destroys your teeth with every bite, grinding down tooth enamel like chewing on concrete. Fish dominates the menu because it's available during certain seasons. Fresh fish is a luxury enjoyed briefly during summer. Most of the time you eat fish that's been dried until it resembles leather, salted until it burns your mouth, or fermented until it smells like death. Dried cod becomes so hard that you need to soak it for hours before your teeth can make any progress. Communal cooking means meals get prepared in enormous iron pots that serve dozens of people. The same pot gets used for days without proper cleaning, with new ingredients added to whatever remains from previous meals. This creates a constantly changing stew that evolves throughout the week, and not always in directions you call improvement. Meat is rare and expensive, eaten mainly after successful raids. When animals are slaughtered, every part gets used immediately. Blood becomes sausage, organs become delicacies, and bones get boiled for soup. Nothing gets wasted, including parts that probably should be wasted but aren't because wasting food means starving later. Ale and mead accompany every meal because they're safer than water and provide calories. The alcohol content keeps everyone mildly intoxicated from morning until night, which is liquid nutrition that happens to make everything else slightly more tolerable. Food preservation relies on techniques that work but don't prevent all spoilage. Salt is precious, so slightly spoiled food gets eaten anyway because throwing it away means going hungry. Food poisoning is accepted as a normal part of life rather than something to prevent. Eating utensils are simple and often shared between multiple people. Meals get eaten with fingers more often than tools, and hand washing before eating is optional at best. The 5-second rule didn't exist because food that hit the ground was still cleaner than most eating surfaces. Your stomach churns, your teeth ache, and you're pretty sure that last piece of fish was moving on its own. But surviving dinner is just preparation for the other challenge of making it through the night. Darkness falls over the longhouse, and you discover that surviving daylight was just the opening act. The building transforms into a concert of disturbing sounds that would make urban noise seem peaceful. If you think traffic outside your window is annoying, try sleeping in a building that doubles as a barn, workshop, and 24-hour tavern. 40 people breathing, snoring, coughing, and talking in their sleep create constant background noise. Add livestock making their own contributions, the fire crackling and wind whistling through wall gaps, and you have an acoustic nightmare. Peaceful silence doesn't exist, ever. Security consists of hoping nobody wants what you have badly enough to take it. Viking longhouses don't have locks, solid doors, or real windows. The entrance is covered by hanging cloth that provides privacy but zero protection. Home security is based on the honor system, which works great until you meet someone without honor. Wild animals pose genuine threats because they're attracted by food smells. Bears can tear through cloth entrances and cause destruction before anyone reacts, while wolves will grab easy targets like sheep when opportunities arise. Sleeping arrangements guarantee that privacy is impossible and comfort is minimal. Families sleep in areas defined only by their possessions, with no barriers between groups. Everyone hears everything that happens throughout the building. Bedding consists of whatever materials are available: straw, animal fur, or rough woolen blankets. Straw harbors insects that bite constantly. Fur smells like the animal it came from, and blankets are scratchy and usually damp. Comfortable pillows don't exist, so you rest your head on folded clothing. Lice, fleas, and other parasites live in bedding and clothing, creating constant itching that makes sleep nearly impossible. Medieval pest control involves picking larger insects off by hand and hoping smaller ones get bored and leave on their own. Fire management becomes critical during night hours. The central fire provides warmth, but also creates hazards when sparks can ignite straw bedding. Temperature varies wildly throughout the longhouse. Areas near the flames can be uncomfortably hot, while spaces near walls freeze. Bathroom facilities are outside, which means venturing into cold, dark conditions whenever nature calls. The outdoor trip is dangerous, unpleasant, and often delayed as long as possible to avoid leaving relative warmth. Illness spreads rapidly in crowded conditions where sick people can't be isolated. Coughs and fevers pass from person to person with remarkable efficiency. Quarantine means sending someone outside to die alone, which isn't exactly a popular treatment option. The combination of noise, discomfort, security concerns, and health issues makes quality sleep nearly impossible. By morning, you're already exhausted from trying to rest, and the entire miserable cycle starts over again. Surviving 24 hours as a Viking isn't just about the dramatic moments of combat and adventure. It's about enduring constant discomfort, chronic health problems, and living conditions that would break most modern people within hours.